All right, we're here. Facebook Live. Hi, everyone. Tonight is going to be kind of fun and really different. And I'm just going to preface this by saying, well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa Kneller. The name is up there. My guest tonight is Veronica Clark. I'm going to introduce her in a little bit. We are fast friends, and we've known each other a very short time, but we are going to have some fun tonight. Yeah. And one thing I want you to know about me is that I'm, fairly conservative. Like there's part of me that's, liberal, but then there's part of me that's conservative. So tonight's topic is really, I'm stretching myself here. I just have to tell you, this is not something that I have talked about in the past on broadcasting ever, or even in, on Facebook ever. So here we go. So I always like to start with a question. You know this, if you've been watching the show anytime at all. And by the way, please let us know that you're here tonight, that you're watching, that you're, feel free to participate, comment, ask questions, whatever. Okay. So tonight's question is, do you wonder how your sex life can be better? And we're going to discover tonight how we can improve our own sex life with a partner or without. And I wanted to talk a little bit, before I introduce Veronica, I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of sex. It's a topic we don't talk about very often. It's very taboo, still in our society. In Europe, not so much, but we're learning. So, okay, get this. According to healthline.com, sex is an important factor in your life, and it can benefit all aspects of your life, including physical, intellectual, emotional, psychological, and social. And what I want to tell you, where Veronica and I are coming from, are holistic backgrounds, yoga teachers, health and wellness. That's our gig, right? So this is part of living a holistic life. Now, I'm just going to read off some of the benefits real quick. It can lower your blood pressure, burn calories, increase heart health, strengthen muscles, reduce your risk of heart disease, stroke, and hypertension, increase your libido, better sleep, relief of headaches, improve bladder control, reduce incontinence, relief of menstrual and premenstrual cramps, and I'm hoping postmenopausal stuff, improve fertility, and build stronger pelvic muscles, and more. So there's a lot of benefits to having a healthy sexual life. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to welcome you first to Unstuck, the Road to Reinvention. And I am your host, Lisa Kneller, and I am a reinvention life coach. So I help ambitious women create what they want and overcome the obstacles standing in the way of their dreams. I am a thinking partner, and I create powerful coaching conversations to help women move forward. And you can learn more about me at lisanellercoaching.com and friend me on Facebook and all of that. So my guest tonight, Veronica Clark, is a love and empowerment coach. She holds a Master of Science degree in adult learning, a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, and a graduate business certificate from Walden University. The first 14 years of her career was in various aspects of retail banking, real estate, insurance, and she has owned several businesses, including a group home for teens and a transitional home for women in recovery. The next 10 years of her professional career was spent in higher education as a globally recognized expert in design, development, and implementation. Her 24 years of business experience combined with training in holistic modalities has proved invaluable, allowing her to coach clients from an intellectual, experiential, and intuitive perspective. Veronica is an acclaimed healing spirit of radical self-care and spiritual growth. She is the creatrix behind Body Temple, a sensuality course for women, and the host of Liberate Your Orgasm, a podcast committed to helping women overcome sexual trauma. Veronica believes that reclaiming your sexuality is the cornerstone of healing sexual wounds and restoring your wholeness. She believes that reclaiming your sexuality is the cornerstone of healing sexual wounds and restoring your wholeness. By unlocking your pleasure and the power of your heart and womb, you are able to access your unlimited potential to create love, nurture, and uplift your individual and collective consciousness. As a yoga and meditation teacher, she has been recognized by Yoga Allowance as an ERYT 500 certified yoga instructor since 2013 and an RYT 200 hour Kundalini yoga teacher since 2015. So she's trained in Hatha yoga, trauma-informed yoga, power, yin, restorative, and Kundalini. So she's got like a brain full of yoga knowledge. And she also does plant-based nutrition, holistic nutrition. She has certifications from Cornell University, Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and Foundational Ayurveda. She's got a certificate from San Diego College of Ayurveda. So at present, she is an advanced student of the Trauma Institute in Boulder, Colorado, in pursuit of becoming a somatic experience practitioner, which is a powerful psychobiological method for addressing physical and emotional trauma, PTSD, overwhelm, and stress-related conditions. Welcome, Veronica. That was like really long intro. But you know what? I thought it was important for people to really hear your background. And what is going to be surprising to a lot of people is your story.
Yeah.
So I'm really just want to say thank you up front and really honored that you would take the time to share that with us. And so I always like to start with, tell us your story. Tell us, give it to us.
Well, first of all, yes, thank you. Again, I'm so excited to be here on the show. And what I really love is I love this idea of being a reinvention specialist, right? Like this, where you're coaching people to reinvent themselves. And there's so many times in our lives where that's what we need to do. If we are to be able to move over the hurdles that we've experienced, how do we reinvent ourselves? And sometimes people are so afraid to do that, and yet it is so necessary. And I want to share my reinvention story, or one of them, because as you think about your own life, you can see that there's probably many times where you've had to reinvent yourself, and yet there's probably like a prime one that was like the big one. So I want to talk about that. But I first just want to share, when we look to nature, we see the perfect example of how to live our lives. And using the snake, for instance, the snake is constantly shedding its skin. When it is time to grow, when it has outgrown that skin, it sheds it. The snake that doesn't shed its skin dies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You also don't see the snake trying to crawl back into the old skin. Doesn't try to go back, because that is unnatural to do that. And yet, like, we humans do that because we want to be comfortable, quote unquote comfortable, right? We go back to the norm or to what's familiar. And what I love about reinvention, and what I love about my story even, is like, you have to shatter the old. Like, that doesn't exist anymore, and you can't go back into it. Like, you look back at the story only to be able to derive more nuggets of, okay, I'm not going back down that road again, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to share with you my story, and I'm going to take you back to 2009, because this is like really where everything just was like the perfect storm. Like you, Lisa, I was actually really conservative. Like, I could never, ever, ever imagine talking about sex. Like, this is just not what you do. Like, I wore button up like blouses and like knee length khaki shorts, and like, this was just very conservative. I'm a mother of 5 beautiful children, and just super conservative. And what I realized is that conservative approach was also a way for me to protect myself, to be safe, to stay safe in the world, to not embrace my beauty, to not embrace, to feel, like it was like walking around in the world with a lot of armor on. And not to mention the clothing, but I also had about 65 extra pounds on me. And I love that version of me. I love her because I know she was doing the best that she could to navigate this world. So the perfect storm happened in 2009 because there was a real estate crash. I had a ton of money invested in real estate and my own properties. I was like now over $9,000 a month in mortgages. I had a fully vested, in my company. I was working at Chase Bank at the time, and had some rental properties, had my group home. There's all these things. And from the outside, it really looked like things were moving really well. Like on paper, I looked incredible. Very, I thought at one point I was going to be like the mayor of my town. I really did. I was like, I was very confident in myself, just go to these different gatherings. I'm waving my hand like I'm Miss America. Like I was confident in that way, even though I had this shell where I was still kind of hiding what was to come. But in 2009, I had a break. I had a breakdown. Seriously breakdown. And it was the first time as an adult that I actually sought counseling, because I was like, what is happening? My marriage had been falling apart for years. But I refused to look at that, because who was I without a husband? Like all of a sudden my little perfect family, my perfect fairy tale life was going to be like, everyone was going to know that it was a bust. And I was holding on to that marriage, even though it was horrible. And I couldn't even imagine being a single mother. Like there was like so much shame in that idea of that. So I just couldn't do that. But when 2009 happened, like there was no going back. Like everything was breaking down, like everything was just falling apart, completely disintegrating. The marriage had filed for divorce, had to file for bankruptcy because there was just no way for me to maintain with what was happening in the market. And I ended up even losing my job as a conflict of interest because of real estate and just some other things. And that was devastating because, again, like I developed this persona, and who I was to the outside world was so important to me, because what it was hiding was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of deep-rooted insecurities that I had about myself that stemmed from sexual abuse and sexual trauma that started when I was 4 years old, all the way up until I was 17, consistently throughout my life. And that wasn't something that at that time I was ever willing to look at. I just wanted to pack that up, get married, get on with my life, pretend like that never happened, don't look at it, don't think about it, and just start to build a foundation from there. And that foundation was very carefully crafted, as I said, with a husband and with children and with this, with a fantastic dream job, and, having all of this notoriety wherever I walked, people knew me. Like that was so important. But it was also a house of cards because there wasn't really a solid foundation to sustain that. Like when all of those things were gone away, it was like, who am I? Who am I? I didn't have anything. And so every part of me just broke down. And I remember at that time, I found out, and what kind of was a catalyst ultimately for the divorce was that my husband had an affair. And like that, I just couldn't even handle. I couldn't even how could that happen? That was like the ultimate betrayal to me. And it was, that's when I went to go see the counselor. I was like, what? There's been so many other things that happened in my life. Like, why is this breaking me down so much? Like, why can't I get out of bed? Like, why can't I function? Thankfully we had a nanny and things like that at the time. So what ultimately happened, I remember being in my bathroom. Remember, massive bathroom. I'm standing there between the bathroom and going into my bedroom. And I was like, I suddenly had this feeling like I woke up. I just suddenly felt like I just woke up. Like I'd been asleep, but I didn't realize that I was asleep before. But I suddenly became very aware that I woke up. And I couldn't, aside from having that feeling, I still didn't know what that meant. And I didn't know what that meant for many years later. Many years later, a lot more healing and things like that. But what I realized is that was my first adult awakening, right? Like my first real adult awakening, like, whew, we're getting ready to move into a whole nother space. It was amazing. So after that happened, I actually started to seek. It wasn't really like a traditional counselor. I'm not really a traditional kind of a person. I was so happy to find. And through when I was going through this impact, is actually, and I found meditation and mindfulness. And so that's how I did a lot of my initial trauma healing, was with mindfulness and meditation, and just learning how to find my center and learning how to be calm in the midst of the storm that was like all around me and just falling all apart. And so grateful for that foundation, because that was a saving grace for me. And in having that, I also naturally started to shift my eating habits. I'll mention to you just very briefly, I had a stint with an eating disorder also. So that was just kind of one way to try to find some control in it. And thankfully that really didn't dominate my life. But I was easily just be able to just start just shifting, because even what I wanted to eat changed. I could no longer tolerate eating meat. It just felt really heavy in my body. So vegetarian and just was plant-based. And it wasn't difficult to do. It wasn't like, it was truly just like a releasing. When I tell you that this was like a waking up, it really was. And I still didn't know what was happening. Okay, so it's not like there was a guide necessarily to tell me this is what's happening, but it was really intuitive and scary. It was scary. But I found some ease in being able to just change my eating habits. And suddenly I started releasing a lot of weight. And to me, there was no coincidence that I was releasing so much weight after the bankruptcy and like the divorce and all the things that I was holding on to that wasn't really real. So now my body was like, oh, you're ready to let go. You're ready to let go. Let's go ahead and just start letting go of stuff. So that was another piece, and pretty soon I'd lost like 50 pounds, and I can share more about that because that's kind of a whole nother journey in and of itself. But really was this massive awakening and rawness. It was very raw, because there felt like there were no bones anymore. It was just a bunch of just kind of like there was just this flesh, and like, what do I do with all this putty? And it's beautiful when we're in this space of putty. And I pray that many of you who may even be watching this right now and feel like you're like that, in that space where you don't know what to do and you don't know where to go and you don't have any guidance for what's happening right now, that I pray that you feel the strength that you do have, even if you can't actually see it in the moment. And in that puttiness is where I started just to learn some of these things that I'm going to start to share with you right now. And this is about sexuality and about really healing. What I like to call this is inner intimacy. So finding and becoming more intimate with the self. This has been really a 10-year, it's like a decade-long process. It didn't happen overnight. But as I look back, I can see that it was happening. I just didn't have a name for it, and I didn't have a map for it. I was also somebody who was very like, I'm going to do everything on my own. So I can't ask for help. I can't ask for help because they're going to know that I'm like batshit crazy and I don't have it figured out. And that's all part of the facade, right? So thankfully I was like, I have to let that stuff go. So the process, this finding this intimacy to be able to come back and build myself up from the bottom up, from the ground floor up, just layer by layer, little by little, seeing that there was some other stuff in there. I was like, oh, okay, not mine, doesn't belong to me. Gonna release that, start over again, on that next layer, and just keep building up. And it's been such an incredible experience. So yeah, what questions do you have about? Did anything happen to you that I shared that you want me to dive into more?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just kind of want to make the observation that, a lot of people tend to judge right off the bat when seeing people. And, looking at you and how what your body looks like now is very different than what it looked like 10 years ago. And people could just assume your life is just a piece of cake. You haven't had to do any work. You're just naturally gorgeous. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like, so I guess I would just really ask people to just to really open their hearts when they look at other people and just look for the best through the eyes and not through the body. Yes. and not assume, anything about anybody, right? Just make no assumptions. There are a couple things I want to ask you. One is, what kind of work did you do to heal from your trauma? And then I'd like to talk about the myths surrounding sex in America. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll try to kind of cover some of those things. So I'll tell you, the main thing that I did to heal was through yoga, meditation, mindfulness, being able to eat a lot more plants. That healed me a lot. Being able to be in community, and then also starting to do more tantra work, which is sacred sexuality work. And that is actually what was the massive catalyst for me to start to shift. Because as I mentioned, one of my core wounds, what I like to say is like the core wound or the primary wound that I had was around my sexuality. And sexual trauma and sexual abuse, whatever it is, especially when it's, at a young age, whether you're witnessing with, you're personally experiencing, there's so much that's wrapped up around that. And our sexuality does not just have to do with sharing your sex. That's a part of it, sharing your sex, having sexual intercourse, but actually being able to unravel your sexuality means that you get to unravel all the knots that are blocking your creativity, that's blocking your flow, that's blocking your vitality in life, that's blocking you from being able to really step into the potential of who you are. So Tantra, studying Tantra, also Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga is based off of Tantra. It's like white Tantra. So that breath work, yoga, is those were the major catalysts for me in healing.
And at the same time, you were getting some counseling. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did do some counseling. I did. What I found for me was experiential. So SE work, and not just so much talk therapy for me was more effective. So being able to have more experiential practices where I got to release and say things that I wanted to say that I could never say. Those things were really healing for me because our trauma stays stuck in the body. So talk therapy alone was not enough. Emotional release, being able to hit pillows or pound on stuff, not a person, but pounding and being able to express the trapped energy that was inside my body that could never do that because it wasn't safe. Because I'm a good girl. I'm supposed to be nice. I'm supposed to be polite. You don't yell. I'm not angry. To get that stuff out in a safe way was really, that was what was helpful in healing for me. So somatic experiencing work, and then some work through the International School of Temple Arts, where I was again in these very experiential type settings that allowed me to be a mess and to allowed me to scream and yell and to feel all the things that I didn't think I was allowed to feel. Because a lot of times, women, we think we have to be a certain way. We have to be pretty. We have to be polite. We have to be nice. That keeps us trapped.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, I've been studying yoga for 20 years and teaching for a long time too. So I get body healing. I get using your body and understanding your body in a way that you don't get to even just working out. It's a totally different thing. It's just way more, there's just way more, I think, awareness. And that may sound like a judgment, but I don't know. So thank you for sharing that. It sounds unconventional, right? To some people, I think Tantra work and sexual healing is not something we talk about very often at all. And I'd like you to talk about some of the myths surrounding sex in America.
I kind of touched on one of them, was that like, one of the big myths I think is that so when we talk about sexuality, we're talking about sex, and we're talking about intercourse, right? Like, and that's not what embodying your full sexuality is. Embodying your full sexuality is being in full creation with who you are. And so I want to state that, because I think that's going to be important for the other things that I talk about. So I just want to set that as a foundation, that we've got to look beyond thinking about sexuality as our genitals. It's not, if that's where we're thinking about our sexuality, then we're limiting our life and we're limiting our potential. And we're perpetuating these myths, and we're going to keep shame around all that stuff, because you can't just keep it there. So, like, to start thinking about sexuality as fully a way of being in this world, being. So with that in mind, we'll set that aside for just a second, like a foundation. One of the big myths is that you have to have a partner in order to be sexual or to be sexually active. And I would say that that's not true at all. Again, going back to this part of like being sexual, like just your sexuality is just so splendid and wonderful. And the more that you, especially if you're single, or if you're taking a hiatus for whatever reason, like being so fully embodied in your sexuality is actually going to make you even more desirable, right? And so, like, being able to have this love affair with yourself is so sexy. To seduce yourself, to make yourself feel really good and yummy and delicious. And you might even notice the way that I'm like describing it. I'm kind of like moving and touching a bit, because this is like, that's creation, right? And allowing that. So you don't have to have a partner in order to be sexual. You can really be your best lover. And when you practice becoming your best lover, when you decide that you are ready to engage in a sexual experience with someone else, your body naturally knows exactly what it wants to do, how it wants to move. So you get to communicate then with your partner, like, this is how my body wants to be touched. This is the aliveness that I'm bringing to this experience and to this exchange. So just feeling into that and recognizing that you don't have to wait till you get a partner in order for you to start expressing your sexuality. Start doing it now. When you're taking a shower, when you are, I got this, I love this. You can see this is it's called Sleepy Body Lotion from Lush. But I love this so much. It smells so good. It's like this lavender smell. It's like take the lid off. You can smell it. You cannot.
I wish I could.
Right. It's like amazing. But it's so soft and silky. Like, it is just so soft and silky. And it's not oily, but it just feels like, oh, it's just delicious. Rub this all over your body, or whatever other yummy, delicious lotion or oil that you like, and just feel the sensations of that. You don't even have to touch your genitals. You're just touching your hand, touching your arm, and experiencing that as this sexual experience with yourself. It's beautiful.
I think it is beautiful. It's a great way to start. By the way, I love essential oils. I use oils every day, all day. And I guess it adds to my sensuality. I have my power oil is patchouli. I wear it every day. And I've actually been in stores like Starbucks. I remember I was walking through Starbucks and some man stopped me and he was like, what perfume are you wearing?
I love that.
I was like, well, it's not a perfume.
It's my
but it's
an oil. Yes.
I got to thinking that, that people see sex on TV and in the movies as, this super romantic, man takes the woman away. Like, it's just so beautiful. And then on the other spectrum, I see, the show Shameless, which is like just raw, awful sex, in my opinion. And I'm like, oh my God.
Like it's going to be really.
Can we just come to some middle ground here? Like, this is not what sex is, sexuality is. It's complicated. And I think it doesn't have to be complicated, but I think it requires, number one, loving yourself, as you say, and also like being open and communicating in an intelligent way, in a loving way, finding the right timing. And I feel like, and you're going to talk about this a little bit later, but the resources that people can go to find, information about how to improve their sexuality. But you have 7 tips for us for a more satisfying sex life, right? So
I do. Oh, but I have to share another myth really quick, because this is important. Okay. So if we don't even, we're going to jump from this one and then we'll go to the tips. But okay, women, men, whoever's listening, your partner is not responsible for your sexual pleasure or for your orgasm. Like, this is really important. That is a myth that, like, oh, this is horrible sex. That's your fault then, because you are bringing you to the experience and you are responsible for your pleasure. Like, be in pleasure on purpose. So it's so important that we realize that, like, it is not, if you don't have an orgasm, it's not your partner's fault, right? Like, they're not responsible for that. Like, it's so important for us to come as 2 sovereign beings who are fully resourced in our bodies, fully resourced. And then when we get to come together in a sexual experience with another being, then we get to merge that energy. And it's just like this beautiful, beautiful dance together where it's like, oh, I get to share my pleasure. You're sharing your pleasure. And then it just like exasperates this pleasure into, bliss. So just remember that, like, you're responsible. So this goes back to being able to be so intimate with yourself and loving yourself, making love to yourself. I'm going to talk about these 7 tips now, because I think this is a perfect segue into that. Okay. And so stay with me on this, because some of these tips, like, I want to talk about them, but I want to, and ask me questions also, Lisa, if you have any, anything comes up. But I want to share with you my process of what my tips have been for me really being able to embody my sexuality, my full sexuality, again, unlimited to just the genitals, but like fully from head to toe to hair. Okay? Mm-hmm. Like everywhere.
I'm ready.
Okay. First of all, you have to learn how to fully soften, completely soften, and learn the art of surrender. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about fully softening everything from your mouth. Like, if your jaws are clenched, or your teeth are like, you hold a specific face. I'm talking about totally softening. I'm saying, like, even when you're holding your cell phone, that you're not gripping it, that you are holding it softly. When you're holding onto the steering column, that it's not like a mad grip, soft. Everything is so soft. When you're walking, that it's soft. You're moving with fluidity, because what you're doing is you're allowing that feminine energy to move through your body with grace, just like water, just flowing through you. And then when you surrender, it's just very fluid of just surrendering. Because when you surrender, you open more.
Yes.
When you open more, you open. You can receive more. You receive because you're open. You're not like this. You're not tight and clutched up.
So that's a practice. That's a practice. You have to learn how to soften, and it takes a little breath work, right? It takes a little attention. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, it's so true. But that's like the number one thing, because this is a big one. And you're right, it is a practice. That's why I gave those examples of like the steering column or your phone. Because it happens in the most basic ways. And if you don't catch the basic ways, you're going to carry that practice of being hard and staying closed. You'll inadvertently still bring it into the bedroom. As much as you like want to be open and you're like, I'm so horny, I'm ready for this. Yes, I can't wait. A part of you will still be used to staying contracted. Mm-hmm. And you want to be able to have that. So practice this. The other thing that the second tip I want to share with you is really staying in connection with your breath. because your breath is going to, doing breath work and staying in connection with the rhythm of your breath is going to help you when you are making love to be able to bring that energy up through your body, circulate it between your partner and with you. Even if you're making love to yourself or what have you, then you are learning how to stay in connection with that breath, staying in connection, moving with your breath through your body, like a really beautiful circular energy through your body. That breath work is really going to work in communion with the softening, because you got to think about the breath needs that pathway to be able to move through your body, right?
Yep.
So
I follow you.
Totally staying in connection with your breath. And I'm sitting on a bouncy ball, which is why you probably see me like bouncing a lot. Like
I was wondering.
You're like, what is she doing over there? I'm reeling in my sexuality and my pleasure. But really, I'm a bouncy ball. So, I love my bouncy ball. But like, again, just like allowing movement and soft and play. Like you've got to play. So the third thing, yoga. And this is not in any particular order per se, but write these down if you're not following already. Yoga is really important. A couple of different reasons, so many different reasons. But as it pertains to sexuality, for one, you're going to be a lot more limber. You're going to be a lot more flexible. You're going to feel good. You can stretch your legs up. Your hips are going to be open, so you can receive even more, right? Like your body's not going to be in pain, so you're going to be stretched out. You can play so much more and move a lot more fluidly. Your life force is moving through you. Your life force is your sexual energy. This is that impetus for like life, that impulse that keeps you moving forward. So when you practice yoga, even if it's right now just the physical asanas, just the postures, you're learning how to open up your body, open up the meridians so that your life force flows more fluidly through you.
Okay, well, no argument there. I love yoga. So
yes.
I'm with you.
I love that. I love that. Here's another piece that we teach in yoga is also like meditation, right? And mindfulness. So I want to kind of pair these together, because when you practice mindfulness and meditation, this translates so beautifully when you are with your partner, because now you are in the moment, like with this other being. And just tell the truth. I mean, like, have you ever like thought about the laundry or like the to-do list while you were like having sex? I mean,
yeah, sure. Your mind can go all over the place. Yeah. But so, yeah, I think that being present is huge. I really do. Yeah. And it takes work to be present. I mean, it doesn't come naturally. So for those of you who are thinking, that doesn't sound easy. Yeah. Sometimes it's not easy. That's why she says practice these things, practice
these are practices. These tips that I'm sharing with you are not like, I'm not sharing techniques with you. Yeah, I can share techniques, but that's not what's really going to expand your life force, right? Like really help you to embody. Like
and you have workshops for that, and we don't have time for that tonight.
We don't have time for that. I'm talking about like real life stuff that is like a game changer. It's going to change your life and help you to be more radiant, because that's what we want. Yeah. When you can meditate and be mindful with your partner, right? When you're in that kiss, like if you're present, guess what? You don't have sadness. You don't have so much sadness or longing when you're away from your partner. Yes. Because you were so present with them. You were like all up in the juiciness of it. Yeah. That you don't have to be sad, because guess what? You got so much. You were so fulfilled in that moment. That's what mindfulness and meditation brings and gives you. That's a gift of it. So it's so important to practice, not just wait until you're actually in the act of making love, but before, in everything that you're doing, as you're walking, you're breathing, whatever that is, have a meditation mindfulness practice. It is so essential. Now, this is a little fun. I like this because, first of all, eating more plants is going to help you to feel more vivified. It's also going to be super good for your digestive tract, right? So that you are not feeling bloated or anything like that. So when you get ready to like do, you are feeling good. You are not feeling bloated. Your tummy's not like full of like stuff. And you taste amazing. And you smell amazing.
Okay, wait. Yes. Oh, less flatulence, ladies.
Yes. No, like that. That's like, no. Right? Like, so more greens and more fruits, like as many as you can. Like I try to have like so many, because Your skin's going to smell good. You smell good. You taste good. You feel good. You have so much energy. You're not all like bogged down with like processed foods that you're trying to like digest. You're not starving yourself before you have sex because you're like, oh, I don't want to have a big tummy. Like, no, you're like, this is how I roll every day. You know, you feel good. I mean, and there's not like some days you're going to have some bloated. That's all good too. But like, that's, you know, eat more of that. So you really start to like, again, increase your radiance.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say to the ladies out there, I am not a vegetarian. So, and I still have a very satisfying sex life. So like, okay, yeah, eat a lot of greens, go for the greens. And I'm kind of like an 80-20 girl. So anyway, okay, where are we in this 7?
You mentioned that though, because that's important. I don't want it to seem like you can only have great sex if you are a vegetarian, because that's not true at all. That's not true. And I do still eat some fish also. So there, that's that. And it still tastes great. Okay. Yeah. Okay, the next thing. Now we're getting into some of these other pieces here. You have a daily self-pleasure practice. Daily. Every day. Every day.
What?
Every day. Yeah. Okay. Even if it's like breast massage. Even if it's like, you know, it's like, what's self-pleasure? Is it just like, you know, you have to really think about, what does it mean for me to be in pleasure? Yeah. Is it does pleasure just mean I have to have orgasm? What if, does it, you know, like just genital stimulation? Couldn't I have an orgasm in my mouth by eating this amazing strawberry and this like with this yummy cream because I want my mouth to taste this and it's amazing. And I'm experiencing this pleasure simply because it's something that I want. I want to experience pleasure. Have a self-pleasure practice. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to just be, you know, like a masturbation practice. This is what's pleasurable for me. Taking a bath, doing something, dancing, playing, putting on some music, but something that's specifically for you, not for anybody else, not to get anybody else's attention, not for somebody to, you know, give you compliments. If they do, awesome. But like pleasure on purpose for yourself. Now, along with that, some of those ideas are breast massage, giving yourself a breast massage, not because you're checking for lumps, but because you are like, I want to touch my nipples and I'm just going to run my fingers gently on my breast and just feel that, or just touching your skin and just feeling that. And by the way, if you have children, you have daughters, like I encourage you, like be gentle with yourself, even with the way that you are touching, so that they learn, like they learn that, wow, even if they don't say anything, you know, you're not like totally turning yourself on. I'm talking about just be gentle with yourself so that they see.
So they have a good example of how to treat yourself. Yeah. I do like the breast thing, even as a way to self-examine, because, you know, a lot of women do not touch their breasts and don't even realize they have lumps until it's too late. So I'm all for that.
I love your breasts, ladies. Yes. And so to take it a little bit further with some of those self-pleasure, and this is like number 7, I would say become more intimate with your yoni. Your yoni is what we call your sacred spot, your sacred space, your vagina. Yeah. Look at her. Yeah. Like, get a mirror. Look at her. Adore her. Some women have, I hold body temple trainings. These are sensuality courses for women. And they're so intimate and so beautiful. They're so sacred. And I love that sometimes a woman has never even seen her vagina before. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. You froze for just a second. But you're good now. Okay. You're good now. Yeah.
I'm back. I froze on the yoni.
Yeah. I hear that the vulva has like 8,000 nerve endings. And I'm guessing.
Yeah, 9,000.
I'm guessing a lot of women don't know that. So if you don't know that, ladies, there's a purpose for that down there.
And the only purpose for your clitoris is for you to experience pleasure. Like there's no other anatomical function for it. It is absolutely like, hey, just a reminder, we want you to have pleasure. Like, yes. And here's like 9,000 reasons to, you know, it's like.
God designed you that way. So, you know, don't feel guilty about it.
Yes. To take the guilt out. That's the old conditioning, right? The old myths. Wait till you're married. There's something wrong. You can't do this. Don't touch it. Don't masturbate. It's really dirty. You should be ashamed. Like, oh, those are old. I had to get over that too. So I was like, I can't touch it. Like, I can't even look at it. Don't touch it. Other than wiping, going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
So,
no, we gotta wake people up. So, all right, Veronica, thank you for those 7 tips. I think those are excellent tips. And there's so much I want to cover. And I think I'm going to have to wait for this next question. We're going to have to do this again.
Okay, we will. That's a pleasure. I do have a couple of resources I wanted to share really fast.
Yes,
so write this one down because this is called OMG. Yes, it's a website. Oh my God, yes. OMG, yes. It's a wonderful resource for women, all kinds of different little videos, especially if, just different techniques. If you are looking for some techniques or anything like that, or just to become more familiar with your own anatomy, there's a really beautiful resources there. Easy to follow, very short videos also. Some of the books that I would recommend also, there's this one, it's The Woman's Anatomy of Arousal. It is a funny book. There has so many, it's funny, like we got to have humor, play, laugh. Play more was actually one of my 7 tips too. I left that one off, but this Anatomy of Arousal, it's written by a nurse, Sherry Winston, super good, got tons of illustrations. So you can really learn a lot more about your body. And especially if you don't know about so much of it and how to explore. So have fun with that. I'm looking because I have all my books lined up here, and there's so many I have, and I'm happy to send a list too. Open Her is a great book. Books from Margot Anand. She has some terrific books like The Art of Sexual Healing, The Art of Sexual Pleasure, The Art of Sexual Magic. But I would say if you're just getting started though, some of the books that I would recommend would be that Woman's Anatomy of Arousal, and then Pussy, Mama Gina's book, Pussy. So
I read that.
Good job. How'd you like
it is
that?
fun. Yeah. I want to thank one of my coaches, Lainey Smith, for introducing me to that book. We actually did a book club on that book. Can you believe it? It's not your typical book club fare, but.
No, I keep cutting you off. How many women were able to say the word pussy?
Oh, we all said it at one point or another, I think, because that's the name of the book. But it's okay. The term has been used derogatorily for centuries, right? And so there's a lot of education in that book, not just about the woman's body and her yoni and all that, but just the way the words are used, the way we're treated as women, really, and where we get a lot of these myths and this information. So, all right, with that, thank you for the resources. Tell us where people can find you, Veronica, and where, what you're offering people.
Yes, absolutely. So if you contact me within the next 48 hours, then I'd like to offer you a 45-minute coaching session. So it would be beautiful. Reach out to me. Typically, the sessions are about $200 an hour. So this is a wonderful offering that I want to be able to give to you. And so reach out to me about that. And you can find me on my website.
How do they reach out to you?
Yes. You can find me at VeronicaLynnClark.com. So VeronicaLynnClark.com.
Is it Lynn, Lynn, or Li? Yeah. How do you spell that?
Lynn.
Okay.
So, Veronica, LYNN,
Okay.
That's going to be, so you can find all my contact information. You can set up an appointment with me there. And then I will put up a link also just to share with you in the group. So that way you know how to reach out to me directly to set up your 45-minute consultation. And so you have to contact me within the next 48 hours so that we can get that done for you. And
so if you're watching this after August 5th, 2020, you have 48 hours from this date. And I think that's a very, very generous offer. So if any of you out there want to take advantage of that, please do.
Let me just say too, I should say for the first 5 people that reach out to me, the first 5. So I have to limit that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
The next 48 hours.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
I was going to give away a sexy lipstick tonight, but I just don't have time to go through that right now.
Save that mixed lipstick for next time.
I'm going to say that. You know, Veronica, I really treasure this time together because, as I said, this isn't a topic that I normally talk about. And sorry, kids, if you didn't like this content, you know, I really, from my heart, hope it helps you out there have a more satisfying sex life and be kinder to yourself and your body and take care of yourself. And Veronica, thank you so much. I feel so honored that you would share this time with me and us and everybody. So
it's a pleasure.
Yeah. So you and I will be in touch. All right, everyone. Again, I'm Lisa Kneller with Lisa Kneller Coaching. I am a reinvention life coach. Here's what I love to do. I love to have conversations with women and help them with overcoming obstacles to get to their dreams. So let me know if I can help you or if you want to have a conversation with me. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, I am not going to be broadcasting next week. I will be on vacation. I'm so excited to have a week off, and I'll see you the following week, okay? All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.